Number 10. 50 Cent. Famous American rapper and actor 50 Cent is well known for his work and his influence on the hip-hop scene. In 2015, the rapper was forced to declare bankruptcy after he was ordered in court to pay $5 million towards Lastonia Leviston after he had edited and re-uploaded a inappropriate tape of hers. Just 3 days later, he filed for the bankruptcy. I guess he didn't even have 50 cents to his name. That one was bad. After filing, he was ordered to pay $23 million. Something that people noticed was that even after saying he was broke, he was seen posing on social media with stacks of cash and $100 bills, though his lawyers told the public that it had just been prop money, often used for music videos or movies. In 2017, he was able to pay off the debts after paying $9 million of his own cash and over $13 million he had won in a legal malpractice case, officially emerging from bankruptcy 3 years ahead of his plan. These days, his net worth is around $30 million. That's definitely way more than 50 cents. I'm done. Number 9. Larry King. Larry King was a well-known and legendary broadcaster, but like with many celebrities, he struggled at the start of his career. When he started gaining popularity in the 60s, he made use of his money, as I'm sure many of us would, blowing it on things like expensive cars and betting on horse racing. Finally, in the early 1970s, his wallet couldn't keep up anymore, and King was in debt, divorced, and fired thanks to a scandal. As he found himself unable to find work for 4 more years, he eventually had to file for bankruptcy in 1978. Soon after, in that same year, however, he was approached with the opportunity to run his own radio talk show, finally becoming the wildly popular Larry King Live Show, which ran until 2010. Thanks to the sudden re-emergence of his successful career, he didn't face much trouble with paying off his debts and coming out of bankruptcy. The legend unfortunately passed away in January of 2021 with an estimated net worth of around $51 million. Number 8. Willie Nelson. Tax season, the most stressful time of year for a lot of people. The dreaded audit waiting around every turn. Famous performer Willie Nelson unfortunately managed to get on the bad side of the IRS. With his success throughout the 50s to the 70s, Nelson was pretty rich. But when the IRS took a look into his taxes, they found something that they didn't like. He had apparently been hiding his income in tax shelters, Nelson saying that it was just a bad choice as a result of bad advice from his accountants. They determined that he owed almost $16 million in unpaid taxes. Nelson knew what was coming and that his assets were going to be seized, so he sent his guitar Trigger to Maui with his daughter. He filed for bankruptcy and even took to putting out a CD for sale that was titled The IRS Tapes Who'll Buy My Memories, which featured just him and his guitar. It was an unusual agreement that the two teams had come to in order to share the revenue of the CD and pay off his debt. He also famously said he bothered the IRS agents by parking his bus outside and doing autographs with fans in between questioning.
At number 7, we have Shia LaBeouf. Now, it's clear Shia has taken more than one wrong turn during his course in his career. Shia started out as Hollywood's next big thing while transitioning from a Disney actor in the movie Holes to a blockbuster heavyweight actor in the movie Transformers. However, his increasingly erratic behavior starting in 2012 led to many to believe he was heading towards a huge mental breakdown. From walking the red carpet one time wearing a paper bag over his head to organizing live art exhibits, it's clear that Shia wasn't living the average Hollywood lifestyle. Compared to some people on my list today, Shia hasn't lost too much of his finances as he's still worth around $25 million. However, his bad behavior and reputation in Hollywood has definitely kept his fortune from growing at a large pace it has in previous years. At number 6, we have Kanye West. Early Tuesday morning, Forbes confirmed Kanye was no longer a billionaire. The last couple of weeks, Kanye has been self-destructing his career, and it ended with him losing his partnership with German sportswear giant Adidas. That reportedly left a $1.5 billion dent in his net worth. Now, with Kanye losing his partnership with Adidas, Kanye will only be worth around $400 million when it used to be $3.3 billion. With Kanye losing the deals with Gap, Balenciaga, MRC, Creative Artist Agency, and having Yeezys removed from shelves, what remains of Kanye's massive financial empire stems from real estate, cash, his music catalog, and a 5% stake in his ex-wife Kim Kardashian's shapewear firm Skims. Kanye has been sparking some mad controversies over his WLM movement and his anti-Semitism comments. And it's caused the star not only to lose endorsements, but friends as well. So what do you think about Kanye's situation, and let me know in the comments below. At number 5, we have Liv Tyler. So Liv Tyler lost around $250 million after she was conned by her dermatologist, Maria Perez. Now Maria is one of the leading beauty experts in Hollywood who has worked with some big name clients such as Cher, Anne Hathaway, and Jennifer Aniston. However, Maria was not only interested in taking care of her clients' skin, but she was also really keen on their credit card details. Now the incident would go unnoticed until Liv's manager would notice that the star was getting charged for things she didn't purchase, and it turned out to be her dermatologist doing all the shopping. Later it would be revealed that Liv wasn't the only celebrity conned by the dermatologist, as Cher, Jennifer Aniston, and Anne Hathaway were as well. And this is why you should always check your bank statements, because you never know who's gonna swipe your information next. At number 4, we have Uma Thurman. So the blonde baddie from the Kill Bill saga may seem to be someone you wouldn't want to mess with, however this star got duped big time. When the actress lost $1 million and the culprit was revealed to be her financial planner Kenneth Starr, Uma took things into her own hands after she found out Kenneth used her hard-earned cash, which was intended to pay her taxes and bills. However, Kenneth would use it to buy a Manhattan condo and fund his lavish lifestyle. Uma would storm off into his office and manage to get her money back, however, others weren't so lucky. Before his scam was discovered, the financial planner was able to take $30 million from his clients, and his illegal financial activities caused Kenneth to serve 90 months in prison.
Number 4. Burt Reynolds. Back in the 60s and 70s, actor Burt Reynolds was famous, appearing in tons of movies, and everyone at the time thought that he was very attractive. At the peak of his career, he had a total of around $60 million to his name, winning multiple Emmys and being nominated for various Golden Globe Awards. However, just as quickly as he got his money, it was leaving his pockets. He had several mansions in Beverly Hills, villas, a private jet, and a 160-acre ranch in Florida with 150 horses. What anyone could possibly need with that many horses, I'm not really sure. However, his second marriage to Lonnie Anderson cost him a lot of money, and he eventually filed for bankruptcy in 1996. He also had apparently spent over $100,000 on toupees, but he still said, "I would have spent more money and had a lot more fun." It seems the bankruptcy wasn't too bad for him though, as in a strange move, the courts allowed him to keep all of his homes and only required him to pay $2.5 million of his debts. He continued starring in films for decades after, but could never seem to match the success he had at the height of his career, his net worth coming down to around $5 million. Number 2. Marvin Gaye. Known for his hits like Heard It Through the Grapevine and What's Going On, musician Marvin Gaye was a legend in the world of soul. However, in 1976, he would go through a divorce that would cause him to file for bankruptcy. The settlement decided that he had to pay all the royalties from his next album to his ex-wife, in return for $600,000 of unpaid alimony payments. Other rumored reasons for his bankruptcy were spending habits in relation to substance use issues, problems that continued throughout the rest of his life. In 1984, however, he was able to make a recovery as he released his record Midnight Love. It was an incredible success, selling over 2 million copies just in the United States. Unfortunately, his finances never seemed to fully recover, and at the time of his unfortunate and untimely death, he was in debt almost $10 million, having only his intellectual property to his name. Number 1. Walt Disney. This man doesn't really need any introduction. Creator of Mickey Mouse and Disney, he's a household name around the world. However, the beginning of his career wasn't so easy. In the 20s, he started his first ever animation studio called Laugh-O-Gram. While somewhat successful, the business eventually failed. When he was forced to file for bankruptcy, it's not known what exactly his debts were, but he was apparently unable to pay his employees or even his own rent. We all know that afterwards, though, he was able to launch Walt Disney Studios in 1928, this being thanks to a loan that he received from his brother and his parents. As soon as Mickey Mouse came alive, the studio went on to become one of the most successful in the world. At the time of his death, his net worth was around $20 million, which today would be close to $150 million, and Disney's total worth right now is around $200 billion. Maybe his frozen head is just waiting for the right time to come back up and take advantage of some of that money.
At number 10, we have Daniel Kim and Grace Park, who acted in the rebooted hit CBS action crime drama series Hawaii Five-0 from the start of 2010. For 7 long years, the duo played their characters Chin Ho Kelly and Konu Kolokoa until they were forced off the show in 2017 because of a contract dispute. Reportedly, Daniel and Grace were both looking to receive equal pay that their co-stars Alex O'Loughlin and Scott Conn were obtaining. It was stated that CBS would not waver their final decision and set a disclosed amount of 10 to 15% lower pay grade than their castmates. Eventually, CBS went on to write Daniel and Grace out of their show in the 8th season, and in it their removal was addressed in true drama show fashion during the premiere. Funnily enough though, it's said that the drama off screen was even juicier. Despite the network issuing glowing statements in regards to their departed stars, Grace was all but thrilled when Peter Lenkoff, her former showrunner, released a tweet with indications that Grace had left the series to focus on family. Grace detailed the occurrence by explaining how the situation felt very charged to her, as well as that she did not feel it was right of Peter to make a statement on her behalf, regardless of whether or not he had good intentions. She finalized by informing Deadline that she cared about Peter as an individual, but that she did not leave the show because of what he implied. At number 9, we have Valerie Harper's self-titled sitcom where she starred alongside Jason Bateman with high spirits due to the fact that the show's ratings were increasing. Valerie was said to be headed in a promisingly strong direction for its 3rd season, and Harper decided this was as good as any time to inquire about a raise. In accordance with People, by Valerie's 3rd year, she was contracted to receive $56,750 per episode, with an additional 10% of the show's adjusted gross profits. Rather, Valerie requested there be a new contract drawn of $100,000 and 35% of added profits instead. When the studio refused to play into Valerie's demands, she pulled out an old ruse that once worked for her 12 years prior as the star of Rhoda. For this one, her request for a raise was denied. She denied showing up for work until she got what she wanted. However, her holdout tactic was not successful the following time, as Valerie's production team agreed to terms of a new contract worth $65,000 per episode with 12.5% of profits. This is what sparked Valerie's return to set, but she was let go after filming a single episode. As a result, the Valerie writers killed off her character and rebranded the show as Valerie's Family for the 3rd season. The following season, the show got a new name once more called The Hogan Family, and while the sitcom maintained its popularity without its original star, Valerie's karma came in full circle when she successfully sued production on the grounds of wrongful dismissal. At number 8, we have the crazy saga of Marcus Chung and The Matrix. His story comes after the success of The Matrix when the film creators had pitched for a double sequel. The writing/director team of the Wachowskis initially wanted to reprise Marcus with a reported offer of $250,000, but Marcus was seeking a whopping $1 million, a seemingly bizarre negotiation tactic which presumably later backfired and got him removed from the franchise. He was killed off between the first and final movies. Allegedly, after asking for $1 million, Marcus's lawyer delivered an ultimatum to the Wachowskis in a letter. In it, a matching sum of $500,000 with added bonuses and promises to receive press premiere guarantees was offered, or oppositely, Marcus would do the movies for free. Following the latter, Marcus apparently publicly added that he was being threatened and spoke on the behalf of Andy Wachowski on a call, which brought about more drama and confusion. At one point, he was reportedly taken into custody for making threats and later unsuccessfully sued the production company and distributors of The Matrix.
Number 7. George Foreman. George Foreman, who you probably most associate with a grill, was a successful boxer, making around $5 million from his fights. However, by 1987, he had lost almost all of his money from both bad investments and an apparently overly extravagant lifestyle. As a result, he filed for bankruptcy, came out of retirement and started fighting again, and also licensed his name to a line of grillers. At the beginning of the deal, they agreed he would get 45% of the revenue from the product, but it's reported that by the time the grills took off, he was making nearly $11 million for every television promotion he did for the product. Finally, in 1999, the manufacturer paid George Foreman a total of $137 million in cash and stocks in order to be able to continue to use his name and likeness for the product. Thanks to the success of the grills, which I'm sure no one saw coming, Foreman was able to find his way back to success. He now spends his time at home with his 5th wife and 9 children, sporting an estimated net worth of nearly $300 million. And I'm sure he spends a lot of time grilling as well. Number 6. Tom Petty. Famous rock star Tom Petty was another celeb who had to file for bankruptcy, except in his case it wasn't due to overspending or making poor bets. Instead, he was trying to free himself from his contract with his record label Shelter Records. As he had seen barely any money from 2 of his hit albums, he became unhappy with the contract, saying he didn't want to be bought and sold like a piece of meat. He refused for his next album to be released, taking on the cost of recording, which left him $500,000 in debt. So he then filed for bankruptcy, hoping that by doing so it would give him leverage, as the bankruptcy court might declare the unfavorable contract null and void. And it worked. They agreed to release Petty from the contract and re-signed him to a new label. The held-back album Damn the Torpedoes went double platinum and cemented his place as a superstar. He obviously had pretty strong beliefs, as when they attempted to release the CD for $9.98, $1 higher than average, he fought to have it kept at the standard price of $8.98. Thanks to his bold move, he ended up with a net worth that totaled around $95 million. Number 5. MC Hammer. While I don't have my hammer pants on today, we are going to be talking about the American rapper and dancer MC Hammer. In the beginning of the 90s, he was one of the most popular celebrities around, making apparently around $70 million. However, 5 years after his peak, he filed for bankruptcy. So what happened to all the money? Well, apparently 17 luxury cars, 21 racehorses, a private jet, 2 helicopters, a golden hot tub, a pool in the shape of his pants, and statues of himself. Yeah, you can't say this guy doesn't have style. It quickly caught up to him, as in 1996 he filed for bankruptcy, selling his dream home for about half the price that he had purchased it for. He lost all his cars, planes, and horses, and I can only imagine someone came in and melted down the golden hot tub. He owed about $13 million. But I'm sure he's very grateful for his music and lasting celebrity status, as he's still been able to generate income, and his current net worth is estimated at around $2 million.
At number 3, we have iconic Disney star Hilary Duff, who was a staple for all early 2000s preteens with her crimped hair and then sweet style. The reason why Hilary and Paulo's Lizzie McGuire 2 manifestation didn't play out in real life was because of reported money disputes. Without Hilary, there would surely be no Lizzie, and apparently Hilary wanted more than what she was making then. According to Entertainment Weekly, the LM franchise closed off when Susan Duff, Hilary's then momager, refused Disney's deal for a sequel. Reportedly, Hilary was offered $500,000 in bonus for the second film if the first film surpassed $50 million. This was said to be a huge increase from the $100,000 bonus Disney originally offered the pair, along with part of a $4 million offer for its sequel, quote, against 4% of the studio's gross for the film. In full, Hilary's Lizzie payday exceeded this, but her mother expected the bonus to come immediately as opposed to waiting. In retaliation, Disney withdrew their deal completely while effectively axing the Lizzie McGuire franchise. In light of the incident, Susan said to Entertainment Weekly how Disney tried to, quote, bully them into what they wanted and was unsuccessful. So in turn, she and her daughter turned away from a sequel while the company ditched an entire series. At number 2, we have Walking Dead Maggie's actress Lauren Cohan. Lauren's character was surely a staple in the WD franchise for nearly a decade, but in 2018 AMC had to complicatedly decide to give in to the actress' then contract demands or remove her from her role. In her Entertainment Weekly interview, Lauren admitted that she was taken aback by her negotiation, which indicated that maybe it was time to leave. She recalls being baffled and feeling like it was just not a fit anymore, due to her and AMC not lining up in so many ways. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Lauren was already actively seeking new jobs around this time and was receiving multiple. As a result, she was no longer a part of the Walking Dead series, but the final decision to let her go was unusually a huge departure from that of the comic book series on which the show bases itself, though not entirely unlikely. However, Lauren could potentially see the return of her character Maggie in the future, despite her character being offed, as her ending was technically left up in the air. At number 1, we have Iron Man actor Terrance Howard, whose leave is somewhat of a sticky situation. It's difficult to say for certain if he was fired or pushed out, but no doubt his demise in the Iron Man franchise had the same end result. While Terrance starred in the first Iron Man film and was reportedly making more than leading actor Robert Downey Jr., he was excluded from the second, and apparently Apparently, there are several reasons. The main one stemmed from an alleged battle over pay. Despite him being the big bill topper in the first film, Robert Downey soon copped the title of the world's highest paid actors for Forbes for 3 consecutive years, and moved into Terrance's money spot by the time of the second film. Terrance's top spot of $3.5 million in pay supposedly stemmed from the combination of risk associated with the Robert Downey bets at the time, as well as his Oscar nomination for Hustle and Flow. In Terrance's explanation, the reason behind Robert's earning so much in the subsequent Iron Man films is alleged because the studio was borrowing from Terrance to pay Robert, and he further claimed that he was set to accumulate $8 million for the second movie. Instead, Marvel Studios supposedly reworked their offered contract and reduced it to $1 million, with plans of using the remaining dough to pay Robert. Finally, once Terrance pushed back, Marvel rumoredly closed their deal entirely and hired Don Cheadle in place of Terrance.
At number 10, we have Lindsay Lohan. Now, Lindsay Lohan is known to be the poster child when it comes to the dark side of fame. The now actress started off her career strongly in the movie Parent Trap as a child and in Freaky Friday and Mean Girls as a young adult. However, she would soon develop a reputation for being difficult to work with, and a film executive would even warn the production company that produced Jorja Rules of Lindsay's bad behavior. Although the actor made millions through her work as an actress, model, and recording artist, Lindsay's legal and personal troubles would soon dissolve and majority of her net worth would be gone. Back in 2012, Lindsay would then have her bank account seized by the IRS, and they claimed the star owed them around $233,000 in back taxes. At this time, the actress was also close to filing for bankruptcy. However, luckily for the star, thanks to her new roles in movies, she is now estimately worth around $1.5 million. At number 8, we have Mike Tyson. So, Mike Tyson would earn a fortune as an American boxer icon. The boxer was so famous, he even inspired a Nintendo video game. However, Tyson would soon begin to struggle with personal and legal issues that would cause his fortune to fizzle up dry. Starting in the late 80s, Mike would go through a divorce and he grew incredibly out of shape, and he even started to lose his superstar image. Not long after, he would be convicted of some charges and would serve 3 years in prison on a 10-year sentence. When the boxer returned, he started to make a comeback, but in 1997, when he bit off a piece of his opponent's ear, it would end his boxing career, and the boxer would then have to file for bankruptcy and retire from the sport. With various media gigs and starring in roles such as Tyler Perry's A Medea Family Funeral and in the animated series Mike Tyson Mysteries, he was able to recuperate some money and is now worth $10 million.
At number 7, we have Muppet star Steve Whitmire. Despite there being several reported reasonings for the Kermit the Frog voice actor and puppeteer's axe from Disney, the big deal breaker was supposedly money. Apparently, one of the reasons given for Steve's dismissal was his refusal to work on a specific project because of an alleged contract dispute. However, Steve told The Hollywood Reporter that he was a casualty of a classified contract dispute between AFTRA and Disney Labor Relations. According to THR, Disney and the Muppets studio, though, Steve's negotiation tactics pushed back production for many years, even going as far back as the Sesame Street days of voicing Ernie and Kermit. A source informed Gizmodo that he was let go for demanding too much money and not for focusing on the Muppets after Sesame Street. At number 6, we have former Family Matter actress Jamie Foxworth. Now, there's no hard confirmation from the cast nor crew as to why Jamie was ever dismissed, but there have been so many rumors stringed from her role's strange removal on the show, where her then character Judy exits a scene up the stairs in season 4 and never comes back down. According to FM's co-creator William Bickley, Jamie's exit came about because of budget considerations, but many allege that her mother was behind the actress's dismissal. A mysteriously reported BET article hinted that the responsibility should be placed on her mother and then manager Gwen Fox, in light of Jamie's contract not being renewed for demanding more money. The position Gwen held makes the story plausible, but regardless, Jamie's career never fully recovered from the early setback. Still, Jamie has kept a pretty lighthearted and humorous attitude about the entire ordeal. At number 5, we have Crispin Glover and why he never returned for the Back to the Future sequel. Crispin had switched out his story numerous times, but one standing point was the studio not meeting his pay demands. He explained in an AV Club interview how he was offered $150,000 to reprise his George McFly role, but this was far less than what co-stars Tom Wilson and Leah Thompson were working for. In the opinion of Crispin, the producers were trying to force him out and punish him with physically uncomfortable scenes for questioning the script. Crispin claimed he would have experienced whatever discomfort needed if he was being properly compensated. Therefore, when the actor tried his hand at negotiation, the higher-ups apparently lowered the amount even further, to an alleged $25,000 instead. Crispin chalked this up to them not wanting to work with him, yet The Hollywood Reporter featured a slightly different spin, where they spoke about Crispin not liking the ideal script, so he demanded $100 million to take the role back. According to Crispin, though, this alleged fabrication was merely a quote campaign smear tactic that he was supposedly asked to receive the same salary which Michael J. Fox was reigning in at the time. At number 4, we have crime scene investigation actors Jorja Fox and George Eads. The two stars of CSI faced intense behind-the-scenes drama while filming the show because they were both eventually removed after allegedly refusing to show up for filming. In accordance with People, both actors were dissatisfied with the results of their proposed raises of approximately $20,000 per episode. When the actors attempted to hold out for more, they got snipped out the equation. CBS's co-president Leslie Moonves made a point to state that a contract is a contract, and that the company was maintaining the future of the network television business. Although there is a happier ending for this one, as both Jorja and George were invited to take their jobs back, but their rehire came with some new ground rules. The raises initially offered were revoked, resulting in the actors' negotiation tactics costing them an approximate $1.76 million. Big yikes. Even worse, George once claimed he wasn't even being petty and that he merely overslept when he didn't show up to work, rather than the hinted monetary gain story that was originally created.
At number 3, we have Sting. So British rock star Sting is said to be so downright rich that he didn't even notice that Keith Moore, his financial advisor for 15 years, was stealing from him. Sting hired Keith to handle his portfolio, but Keith carefully took it upon himself to steal money out of Sting's 100 accounts and invest them into various deals, as well as use some of the money to support his lavish lifestyle. Now, Keith would be sentenced to jail for 6 years for stealing $9.8 million from Sting. What's even more shocking is how the rock star didn't even realize the $9.8 million was missing from his account. Since Sting claimed he's never had a mandate to allow Keith to steal millions from him, he was ultimately reimbursed the money back, with interest of course. Near the end of his trial, Sting was pleased that the situation was over. However, he did refuse to comment on whether he was aware of any previous disciplinary actions against Keith before he started doing business with him. At number 2, we have Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro became a victim of a huge New York art scam that would cost the star to lose $88 million. With Robert being a tough guy on and off screen, it's surprising that someone actually had enough courage to con this guy out of millions of dollars. It's said that more than several paintings that were made by Robert's late father were sold without the actor's permission as part of an art scam by a New York gallery. The art salesman and the gallery owner are said to have sold 50 pieces of the artwork in the gallery, and that the paintings made a huge profit for the pair. However, Lawrence wouldn't give Robert any of the money, and then he would then later use the funds to pay for his own debts. Now, these paintings meant a lot to Robert, and he only had them on display so people could enjoy the art pieces just as much as he did. Now, the star did note when he questioned the dealer, he felt as if the dealer was either delusional or deluding himself from the crime, and Robert just didn't have the time for it. At number 1 for today, we have Billy Joel. When he lost $90 million by trusting his ex-brother-in-law, it would become the biggest mistake of his life. In 1989, Billy would join a list of Hollywood celebrities who have lost out on some major dough. Now, some of these celebrities just aren't good with money, however, Billy couldn't exactly be blamed for what happened to him. As soon as Billy started to rack in a lot of money for his countless sold-out concerts, record sales, and music videos, he decided to hire someone to manage his finances. After Billy would separate from Elizabeth Weber, he would go on to get her brother, Frank Weber, to do it for him. Little did Billy know that Frank would take his money and spend millions of it. Frank would use the money to invest in his own company, as well as giving out loans to gas and oil tax shelters, real estate ventures, and even horse breeding facilities. One investment, however, would make it known to Billy of what Frank was doing when a hotel development investment let him know he was liable for any potential losses.